Hi there, I'm Joyce Graff. I'm currently the district governor for 7910 for 2024 to 2025.
Hello there, I'm Susan Wilkinson. I am one of District Governor Joyce's assistant governors, and this is for the current year, 2024-2025. I'm pleased to be here.
One of the perks of accepting the position of district governor is that you get to launch a global grant. My global grant this year is focusing on the economic empowerment of people in a very poor city outside of Nairobi, Kenya. In December of 2024, I had an opportunity to visit this community and a very successful program there, which has been working to help children and families sustain themselves. I also set up a series of appointments with key people associated with other global grants currently underway between our district 7910 and Kenya's district 9212. Two friends went with me, Dr. Shulamit Kahn, professor of economics at Boston University, and Susan Wilkinson. So Susan and I had the opportunity to go to Kenya and meet with the people there.
Thank you so much, DG Joyce. So for me, it was an opportunity of a lifetime to travel with you to Kenya. It's hard to believe, but although I grew up in Uganda, I had never been to Kenya. I have had so many transit flights, but never really went out of the airport. So thank you so much for the invite. It was an opportunity of a lifetime.
The first 4 days were spent visiting Jitegemee and speaking with the staff and the students there, learning about the evolution of the program. The program is called Jitegemee, which in the local language, Kikamba, means sustain yourself.
We were greeted by 43 vocational students. They sang for us a welcome song. Their ages ranged from 14 to 17, and the whole day we spent it with them, we spent it with the staff, getting to understand the program all around. Altogether, this program has really filled the gap in this local community. And it's really helping the community lift itself out from poverty, one family at a time. And this includes the parents as well as the children.
The program began 20 years ago with meeting the children's basic needs, food, and often food for the family as well. Then providing the children with shoes, uniforms, and school fees to get them into the public school system. They provide mentoring to ensure the success of the children, and those who are capable of going on to college do go on to college and have done quite well.
It was really nice to sit in a circle and hear from the students firsthand about their various aspirations. We too shared our own work histories, and they really had quite ambitious dreams: surgeons, pilots, engineers, teachers, most of which were traditional careers, very congruent with the African parents' expectations. However, there were two students who stood out. One wanted to be a model, and the other wanted to be a private chef. Go figure, private chef in Kenya. Although he actually told us, no, outside of Kenya. So long story short, I actually shared my own experience about being a part-time lifestyle talent, AKA model. And I encouraged the young lady to have a job at baseline, the job which can pay the bills as she is working on her dream of becoming a model. As for the private chef, I really didn't have much to share, but we did encourage him. And we also made sure that they too believe in themselves. Joshua, one of the staff members, summed it up appropriately. Every single child's dream is valid. So that touched my heart to hear that.
Yeah, and you said that was a quote from a celebrity.
Yes, that's from Lupita Nyong'o, who is a Kenyan by birth. And also, she does go back to Kenya every now and then. So it was actually appropriate for the occasion.
That's great. Not all of the children, of course, are candidates for college. One other aspect of the program recruits teenagers who want to learn a trade. These go through a 2-year vocational program. The first year is learning business skills and how to behave on the job, with a taste of a wide variety of trades to choose from. And the second year, they spend as an apprentice in the trade that they've chosen. They might work in culinary arts, beauty shops, tailoring, construction, plumbing, welding, and lots more. The program has been very successful. The study found that 5 years after graduation, 85% of the children were still working in their chosen trades. In a country with 60% unemployment, that is a tremendous success.
Absolutely. And as DG Joyce has actually highlighted, the rates of unemployment are quite high. However, for Jitegemee being such an innovative organization, they don't just help the children, they also help the parents to make sure that the whole family comes out and they are able to really sustain themselves. So how do they do this? They have classes for the parents. They learn how to run small businesses. They have something called the Street Business School, and they also learn how to sell their products. The group of women that we met that day really make beautiful, beautiful baskets. They make other accessories as well. I do remember that we sat down and we talked about them branding their creations, including adding their names and perhaps some faces as well, so that people can see the face behind the product for visibility purposes and also for credit. I feel that I connect with an item a lot deeper when I know the person who made it.
4 of the graduates of the program have actually been employed by the program. One is a social worker, one is a teacher, and one is a bookkeeper. So it's really fine to see that the program is sustaining itself in that way. And also many of the graduates become tutors to other children who want to learn the same trade.
So that same week on Wednesday, we visited some workplaces, several of which had the current class of apprentices. However, also some of them had previous apprentices, and they call them alumni. Going around the back end of Machakos, we rode in a car. However, the car was not big enough to really carry all of us. And one of the teachers, Faith, rode on a boda. By the way, DG Joyce is also focusing on the accessibility bit. In my experience, and we saw all of us, accessibility is really, really hard. I cannot thank the 2 women, Veronica and Faith, enough for the good job they did in terms of really helping us to navigate the treacherous terrain, but also DG Joyce with the walker. There's a huge round of applause. It was really, really amazing.
For sure. They were my angels. They helped me get to the school building, which was, as you say, somewhat treacherous. So that's something that we're hoping to help them with, because some of the grandparents were not able to come to the school to see the celebration because of the accessibility issues.
So Alice, who you see over there in the picture from right to left, is me, Professor Shaw, and then also Alice. So Alice trained in the same shop she works in right now. And she trained as a dressmaker. In fact, the day we came in, she was cutting parts to make a suit. So when I saw that, I remembered that I did need some gift wraps for my staff. So I inquired if she would be able to make something for me, which she did actually make and promptly delivered on Friday. When it comes to using reusable gift wraps, that's exactly what Alice helped me achieve, but also supporting her and also encouraging her as well. The other shop that we visited was one where the students actually learn about plumbing. They also learn about electrician jobs as well. Now, the gentleman who actually owns the shop has trained a number of students, most of which he actually hires. So when you hear the word plumber in the African community, we are very, very gendered when it comes to professions. So when I saw a girl who had striked out of the box to become a master plumber, that was quite intriguing for me. So, and she's so beautiful, by the way. So I talked to her and I said, hey, why plumbing? Because it's very rare to find a female in the African traditions become a plumber. And she eloquently told me, well, guess what? There is no competition in plumbing. I also make my money and I get paid right away. So that was really enlightening to hear that she has an entire thought process behind it. So I shared an article with her about the new class of millionaires in the US who are HVACs, plumbers, electricians, which was also encouraging. So she nodded as in, okay, I made the right choice. So that was really, really amazing to see.
Right. We went deeper into this very poor neighborhood to the welding shop. So we met a young man who very proudly showed us the gate that he had created as a welder's apprentice. And the guy he was working for was also a graduate of the Jitegemee School, who now was being a mentor for the next generation of kids.
So I don't know if we mentioned this, but the Kenyan school year runs January to December. So December is a very, very busy month. That's when the graduations happen. And we just happened to be in Kenya the same week that Jitegemee was actually having. Their own graduation. They had a family day and they had a celebration for the graduates, all the way from primary school to the street business school, which is actually the parents, as well as the college class as well. There was a lot of celebration. There was a lot of dancing. There was a lot of crying as well, people achieving their goals. But for me, actually, it filled my heart with such tremendous joy to see that people can work hard from nothing and add value to their own lives. Most of the shop owners came over and they also talked about empowering the school. There was a little bit of a fundraiser as well. Overall, it was a joyous day. We were able to actually meet some of the board members. By the way, in that picture is the executive director, Jennifer Katiwa, who is an amazing, amazing powerhouse. So for me, it was really nice to see that. And Professor Shu was the dancing Muzungu, so to speak. And the word Muzungu is really white person. And I think I will actually make her a t-shirt, the dancing Muzungu. And it was really nice to see people break out of the mold and celebrate these youngsters and celebrate the organization all around.
Come on. Hey, come on. Face no angle. Nicola Drew.
People like Shu have been on the board for up to 20 years.
Yes.
There were two other women also, Agnes and Martina, who were members of the board, and there was a gentleman there as well. Clearly a very strong supporting community, both within Kenya and also in the United States.
I was shy initially, but when I saw how joyous everyone was, and of course, Professor Shu challenged me too, and I could not miss out on that party. So needless to say, by the time I left, I had enough serotonin to last me for the whole winter. That's what I would say.
It really was amazing to watch. One of the reasons that they were accepted often is because there was no food to eat in the whole house. So they've been working with these families now for 12 years, helping them to not only get through school, but to learn how to support the entire family. They limit themselves to supporting one child in a family, but sometimes there are 10 children in the family. And so it was clear to them that they needed to help the parents earn more money so that they could sustain their family on their own.
Right. We discussed how hard it can be for them to pick what child to come into the program when they have 500 students who really meet the criteria. So for me, it gave me an appreciation of that moral quandary of who do you let in and who do you let out. So overall, the job is being done, but I think this is even the more reason for them to be supported, I think, because they are doing an incredible job.
Right. I agree. In order to do a global grant, one club from outside the destination country works with a minimum of 2 clubs inside the country to manage the project and make sure the money is spent as it's intended. On Friday night, we met with the Rotary Club of Machakos. They had billed me as the speaker, so there were representatives there also from 3 other nearby clubs who were also interested in participating in our proposed project with Jitegemee. We exchanged flags and ideas. I installed a new member and spoke about the objectives of my trip.
For me, seeing young ladies in charge of the club, the president was a female. I think the secretary was a female. The projects manager was a female. And the support they got from the gentlemen in the club was really encouraging as well as comforting. So how you?
Yes, it was a very nice group and obviously very successful people within the community who are also giving back, as we Rotarians love to do around the world. It was great to see them supporting their own community as well.
Absolutely.
On Saturday morning, we met over breakfast with Benson Mutua, president of the Rotary Club of Emali, and he's the director of the Clay School in Ngomano, Kenya. This is the site of a global grant project sponsored by Richard Segan of the Brookline Club. The Clay School is a boarding school which draws students from the surrounding rural area. This project is to provide a reliable source of clean water for the 120 to 150 students plus staff of the Clay International Secondary School. This company called Source makes hydro panels, and these hydro panels extract water vapor from the air and then put that into liquid water in tanks for drinking. So this is all done with solar technology, and so it's very innovative. These hydro panels have been used in locations in Africa and in North America and have applications for locations where there's drought or unreliable rainfall patterns that make an alternative source of drinking water necessary.
That same day after we had our meeting, DG Joyce and I took some time to just reflect on our time in Machakos. because it's actually that same day that we drove to Nairobi. Our driver, our trusted driver, not just driver, but our trusted driver, Leonard, aka Ken, drove us to Nairobi, and we drove on the expressway, which is such a modern super highway, and we watched the traffic on the Paro Highway. And I did actually notice one thing, that if you use the super highway, you had to pay a toll, and if you use the regular highway, you did not have to pay a toll. So it's up to you to really have that choice. But overall, we were able to see traffic going to Mombasa as well as other parts. And we did actually notice that Mombasa the traffic was quite heavy, which was in line with what people told us, that Mombasa tends to be really busy around the Christmas holidays, because that's where everyone goes to celebrate the Christmas holidays. But overall, we scarcely moved besides us, but overall, we made it, and we arrived at Kongoni House, which is a very gorgeous, beautiful old Victorian home that had been converted to an Airbnb. And we did have dinner and got ready for Sunday overall. On Sunday, we had various activities. Professor Shu went on to meet with her cousins who live in Kenya, and Joyce and I went on to play with the lovely animals in Nairobi National Park. In the city of Nairobi, there's a national park, the world's only wildlife capital, which is 117 square kilometers, or 45 square miles of rolling hills and savanna. It is a wildlife preserve that houses a wealth of species of animals and birds.
We engaged a guide who drove us for 3 hours around the park. We were privileged to see a lot of animals, including some lazy lions. Susan got the best shot of the lazy lions beside the road. We saw lots of other animals, rhinos, zebras. What were your favorite ones, Susan?
I think for me, the zebras. I've been lucky to see lions a few times on some of the safaris, but the zebras tend to be different in every country, like the different patterns.
And we saw 2 different kinds of giraffe.
Yes, the giraffes too, they were quite interesting. The ones that we saw at the giraffe center and the ones that we saw in the wild, quite different. In line with that, Kenya is determined to protect her elephants from the ravages of poachers seeking ivory. In order to deter poachers, they are campaigning to end the purchase of items made from ivory. If people don't buy ivory, the global market will actually dry up. Meanwhile, all the ivory they confiscate is gathered together in a large burning site within the national park, and it's burned every few years. To give you an idea of the size of this mound of burnt ivory, I climbed to the top, and there was actually 3 different piles. It wasn't just one, there were 3 different piles, but the one that I was on was the most recent burn, which is probably 2016, 2017, around there.
Tons and tons of ivory, and you held some chips in your hands so that we could see what they look like. But the burned ivory was just all in little pieces like that and mounded up in these enormous mounds. It really pulled my heartstrings to see how many elephants it took to make that much ivory. And the rhinoceros also. Rhinoceros and elephants contribute to that pile of poached ivory. So they're very serious about trying to end the ivory trade worldwide. We noted also they don't keep elephants in this reserve. Why is that? Because the park is not big enough to sustain elephants. One elephant eats 350 pounds of grass every day. 350 pounds. And in this relatively small reserve, most of them are much bigger. Here they need the grass to feed the impala, which in turn feed the lions. So they've really worked very carefully to balance the ecology, and elephants would send it over the top. So the elephants are in the larger reserves elsewhere in the country, but they did have a baby elephant orphanage where they keep injured and orphaned elephants until they're well enough and big enough to go back to the wild. We saw a lot of baby elephants in the orphanage, and my favorites were the ones who were playing in the mud. They were very cute, the way they played with each other in the mud.
Right. So my favorite was Moshuru. I don't know, Joyce, if you remember. Moshuru was so gracious and kind and quite generous when she walked over to us and just stayed still so that we can touch her. She's a friendly 4-year-old female. I actually ended up adopting Moshuru for a year, and this was a Christmas gift and birthday gift for my son Nathan, who just turned 15 years old on December 30th. So I also enjoyed feeding the giraffes at the giraffe center. Again, I didn't even know that there were differences in terms of the different species of giraffes, right? So seeing all of that really helped me to understand that just because they are giraffes, they are not a monolith. Like they are differences. So I really enjoyed that.
On Sunday afternoon, after we came back from the park, we met with Eric Lijodi, who is the project manager for Victor Tom's water project, providing rainwater catchment tanks for schools in Kambiri, Kenya. Eric had flown from Kisumu to Nairobi to meet with us at the Kangoni House Hotel. Eric is the project manager for Friendly Waters. That's the name of his company, Friendly Waters for the World. That's the organization that will be building the catchment tanks for the project. Catchment tanks were everywhere, and we certainly saw a lot of them in Machakos. What's different about Eric's approach is that he adds filtering and treatment of the water in the tanks to make sure the water is safe for drinking. He also trains the local people how to maintain the system over time.
So on Monday morning, Anne Musalia, a member of the World Disability Advocacy E-Club, which actually is part of our district, 7910. She was able to come and pick us up with her driver from Kongoni House to take us to another neighborhood. The neighborhood is called Wutalawa, a suburb of Nairobi, which is not far away from the airport. In this neighborhood, Anne runs an Infinite Care Community Center, which provides services to differently abled children. Anne had also organized a celebration of our visit, complete with parents and children singing. There was a big theme everywhere we went that there were children. We got to interact with them singing. There was a cake and a Christmas party with gifts for all the families, food, diapers, etc. She also provides free physical therapy for the children with cerebral palsy, of which there are many. And again, one of the questions DG Joyce asked if there is a way that they can find out why that particular neighborhood or suburb has a lot of CP. And apparently there is poor, if any, prenatal care, and mostly home births. So this seems to be one of the contributors to the high numbers in that particular suburb. She also has children of her own who have, she has one son who also has autism, and I think that's what drove her into really highlighting the underserved portion for this particular population. So in the center, there is also children with autism as well as other disabilities. Altogether, she has a total of 150 children. Anne is a huge believer in early intervention. Therefore, she has worked with the mothers to bring their kids to the center. And for the most part, most of the moms come over for 2-hour appointments. Oftentimes, they find themselves actually staying the whole day. And the reason is this is also a very, very safe space for the moms, a support group of some sort where the moms can talk about their challenges, taking care of their children. While there, we also met Sonia Rajabans, who is a member of the RCWDA, which is again in our district. And she is the liaison with the public school systems. And we also met Saum, a member of a past district governor, actually, for District 9212. And she is a huge supporter for the center. In fact, Anne described her as a woman with the biggest heart. Joyce was able to present both of them with a banner, a podium banner from our district, as well as the magic of Rotary pins, which they really appreciated. As well as, I think you also gave them some Polio Society pins as well.
Right.
And they really appreciated that. Here is a picture of the lovely ladies. And by the way, they are all volunteers. Including the physiotherapist, who is a new grad, but he volunteers his time. So that was also encouraging to see people giving back to each other, even when they don't have much.
There was also the mother of one boy who was deaf, and she was providing signing service for events at the center. So when the parents were there was someone signing.
Right.
So Anne and Sonia drove us 1 hour out of the city to Kitangala to visit the Rare Gem Talent School for children with neurodiversity. This school was founded by 2 sisters to help one of their children who is dyslexic. Mark Stoddart, the sculptor from Scotland who's a member of the World Disability Advocacy Group, found them and has been personally funding the school, moving them to a better facility and underwriting many enhancements to widen their charter to a broader range of neurodiverse issues. Mark had sent 2 teaching manuals to Boston for us to carry to them there. We sat with the executive director of the school, Phyllis, and some of the liaisons with the public school system, and spoke about the program, which has been running for some 10 years. It was a very impressive organization, and we saw lots of wonderful signs around that Susan took pictures of all the signs because they were so empowering for children with neurodiverse issues, many of whom have failed in school, or at least the school has failed to teach them in a way that they can learn. And in this school, there's really teaching to the strengths of those students and helping them to find their niche, find their talent.
And just to piggyback off of that, DG Joyce, for me, as a person who works in the field of mental health, I always intersect with learning disabilities as well. So seeing the way that they really address dyslexia in a very positive way, they don't call it a disease, they don't call it a disorder, but rather learning differently. And one of the pictures was a picture of Sir Bronson, who owns the airline, the British guy, and they had hand drawn his headshot to perfection. And many people don't know that he has dyslexia as well. So that was also impressive to see.
One of my favorite signs was, "Why fit in when you're born to stand out?" And I'm not dyslexic, I'm alphabetically creative.
Absolutely. And the one that says, "I don't suffer from dyslexia. I live with and work with it. I suffer from the ignorance of people who think they know what I can and cannot do." How powerful is that? You know?
That's very powerful. How many talented people there are who are dyslexic, who have some sort of learning disabilities. As you say, Richard Branson, and also some of the people in the movie industry or stand-up comics have difficulty reading, but they're very clever people, and very admirable in other ways. Reading is not the be all and end all. It's certainly helpful, but it's not everything we need to know to be successful in life.
Absolutely. So on Tuesday morning, we picked up at Kongoni House by Eric Sangaro, who is the president-elect of the Rotary Club of Langata in Nairobi. He is the general manager for East Africa for the Cummins Kagan company. They do build huge engines. In fact, he actually travels a lot to the US. And it was also nice to pick us up in a really, really nice car that he drove. Eric drove us to Kingelo Primary School in another suburb of Nairobi, where we met with the headmaster, the 2 computer teachers, a board member of the school, and 2 other people from the Rotary Club as well. There were also 5 students who came over to showcase how the computer lab really helps them. It was a school holiday. They were on break actually, but they were able to gather the 5 students. That was really nice and very, very, very generous of the students as well as the staff to be there.
We were really quite impressed that club has undertaken to build computer labs for primary schools grades 1 to 9 so that the students can get their hands on real computers and learn how to use them. Posters on the wall explained everything from what is a mouse to other basics. 5 students there told us about their aspirations, which ranged from computer programming, we asked him what language and he didn't know what language, to building a computer game, and one girl who wants to be an electrical engineer. Then we 3 talked with the students, teachers, and Rotarians about what we do with computers in our lives. So Susan in healthcare, Shu is a professor of economics, and myself in doing various kinds of desktop publishing just in the course of our jobs. So what we stress with them is that it's not all about programming, it's also about higher level applications. Everything from GPS in a truck to checking someone in at a hotel, many kinds of things. Computers are everywhere, and it's about getting comfortable with computers, not being subject to computers. Computers are not going to run the world, but computers are a very useful tool in almost every profession.
Right. So for a little bit of this background in terms of the program in the school, this was a response to a failed initiative but in the public schools, and this initiative was actually rolled out by the government of Kenya. At one point, they distributed tablets to all the students in 1 grade. However, the teachers did not know how to use them. The content on the tablets did not align with the curriculum at the time, and the program was a failure. So for this project, the Rotarians had begun adding security to the designated classroom. This included building in bars in the windows, as well as reinforcing the roof with a little bit of metal so that the thieves cannot break in and steal the computers. Overall, the computers are new and they have strong internet, and the teachers are well prepared. A Rotary Club of Langata is looking for a DDF to support the project to continue expanding the lab.
Eric then drove us to the Zen Garden, a beautiful Japanese restaurant where we had lunch with the district governor and several of his leadership team, the country manager for Kenya, 2 past district governors, the secretary, and 2 members of the Langata Club. We exchanged trading banners and ideas for global grant projects. District 9212 comprises not only Kenya, but Eritrea, Ethiopia, and South Sudan. That's why there's a country manager for Kenya. Dr. Joe has altogether 4,000 members in 117 clubs and is visiting every one of them during his term as governor. One of them is 400 miles away, so a case for an airplane. Dr. Joe and several of his district officers travel to the United States on business, and several of them are preparing to go to Calgary. So we made plans to meet again and to deepen our friendship between District 7910 in Massachusetts and District 9212 in Africa. So we're looking forward to more projects in cooperation with 9212. So altogether, I had a wonderful time, Susan. How about you?
To say that I had a wonderful time would be an understatement. I think I remember conveying to you how proud I was actually. There's like because they call Kenya the Savannah Valley of Africa, which is equivalent to the Silicon Valley of the US, and to see how really innovative people are. They are very, very, very aware of their political climate, but that's not stopping them one bit. And they always had such joy and always had such optimism. So overall, I needed that. I needed to see that in order for me to really survive the winter. Let's just say that. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. At least I have some experiences to draw from as the snow begins to pile up sometime.
Yeah, this was my first time in East Africa altogether. I've been to South Africa and I've been to North Africa, but it's the first time in East Africa. And it was very nice to see the need, but also see the way the local people are helping to meet that need. They're working at it and they're looking for some partnership from us abroad to assist with that. And I always feel better about doing it when there is local participation in the project. It's not just us going in and doing what we think they need, but really helping with what they have identified as their need and what they're already working toward. And if we can assist with that, that makes me feel better about the project.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much for coming with me. You opened doors that I could not have opened by myself. And I thought it was a really good partnership with you. So I really appreciate your going.
Thank you so much for engaging me and involving me. It was really nice to go to Kenya, which is neighbor to Uganda, but also coming with you and seeing things firsthand and first time was really eye-opening and also insightful for me. So thank you.
Thank you. And learning more about Shu's wonderful project that she's been involved in for the last 20 years. She and I have been friends for a very long time, and I've heard about Jitegemee before, but never got the kind of appreciation that I come away with from this trip. So thank you all, both of you, for widening my eyes and enriching my experience. Thanks so much.
Thank you.